The cruiser Virelia floated like a platinum dagger through the stars, humming with polished opulence that made Ryn Solas want to disassemble something expensive with his bare hands. The chandeliers alone probably cost more than the entire defense grid of Arcus 9, and their refracted starlight dappled the obsidian floor like spilled jewels. He adjusted the weight of the synth-forged blade on his back. Not regulation. Not strictly allowed. But Earth's Department of Off-World Negotiations had learned the hard way. If you want Ryn Solas to babysit galaxy-saving relics, he brings his sword. Period. The reason for this latest diplomatic pageant sat in a high-security stasis vault in the center of the observation dome, an orb-shaped construct of glassy mineral, no larger than a coconut, thrumming with silent energy. The core of Lysari. The reason 17 star systems hadn't atomized each other. That's the peace artifact? Ryn muttered. Looks like a dessert prop from a high-budget wedding. A voice answered behind him. Then let's hope no one tries to cut the cake. He turned. And immediately regretted it. The woman approaching moved like starlight bending around gravity. Olive bronze skin shimmered with faint iridescence. Her eyes glowed like shattered onyx glass, and her voice carried the same casual danger as someone who's tested poisons for sport. She wore expedition leathers, not diplomacy silks. A bad sign. Scientists were always worse. Dr. Elara Nirel, she said, extending a gloved hand. Xenopsychologist. Lysaran scholar. Chronic thorn in command's side. Ryn ignored the handshake. You're not authorized to be here. She smiled. Neither are you. Technically, Earth's just here to observe. I'm not here to observe, Ryn said. I'm here to prevent interstellar war via sword, sarcasm, and minimal casualties. In that order. Charming! And yet they told me Earth lacked emotional intelligence. She circled the containment chamber, eyeing the core. Careful, he warned. That's not a toy. That's a loaded weapon with a pretty glow. Elara's voice dropped, quiet with reverence. It's not a weapon. It's a being. A Lysaran seed core. A remnant of an ancient race that didn't conquer with war. They made emotion itself their domain. Pure empathic regulators. Ryn stared at her. You're saying the galaxy's longest ceasefire is enforced by a glorified mood crystal? No, Elara said. I'm saying it's alive. And it's listening. Ryn's hand tightened on the hilt of his blade. The core pulsed softly in its chamber. Not with light, but with intention. Elara stood close, lips parted slightly, pupils dilating. The moment stretched into a silence so heavy that Ryn swore he could hear his blood pressure rising. He stepped in front of her. Back up, he said, voice low. Don't make me file an intergalactic incident report because a curious scientist tried to cuddle the universe's most sensitive relic. Elara blinked, as if surfacing from underwater. You feel it too, don't you? What I feel is the migraine I'll get if I have to explain to 17 governments why a xenopsychologist turned into an interstellar paperweight. She laughed, not moving. It's reaching. Not in aggression. In recognition. You've been reading too many Lysaran myths, Ryn said. Next you'll tell me it wants a hug. Maybe not a hug, Elara said, fingers twitching at her side. But definitely contact. He gave her a warning look. Do not touch it. I won't, she said, and smiled in a way that meant she absolutely would. Good, Ryn muttered, turning toward the security console. Because the last time someone touched a Lysaran relic He didn't finish. The lights flickered. Then cut out completely. Emergency strobes snapped on, casting the room in rhythmic flashes of red. The hum of containment turned unstable. Ryn spun back to Elara. But she was already stumbling backward. I thought it was a bench, she gasped. She landed directly on the core. Not beside. Not near. Right. On. Top. The moment her body made contact, the artifact surged with blinding, living light. The containment field shattered like soap film. Elara! Ryn lunged for her, but he was already too late. The core wasn't just reacting, it was fusing. Liquid crystal wrapped her torso, flowing up her spine like molten glass. Her eyes snapped wide, glowing gold, lips parting in a silent scream. He caught her just as her body arched violently. I can't move. She choked. It's God, it's inside me. Ryn held her as the orb disappeared into her skin like water down a drain. Then everything went still. Elara collapsed against him, limp, sweating, trembling. I thought it was a chair. She whispered again. Of course you did. Ryn said through clenched teeth, cradling her as alarms began to blare. This is the Virelia Central Command. Containment breach detected. Artifact integrity compromised. Initiating emergency lockdown. Ryn didn't move. He looked down at the woman who had just absorbed the most important peacekeeping entity in galactic history via accidental sitting, and whispered, You're never living this down. The medical wing was a flurry of motion. Machines whirred, lights blinked in frantic patterns, and alien medtech sparked orders in 5 dialects Ryn barely understood. He stood just outside the isolation chamber, arms crossed, jaw tight. Elara floated in a suspension field, unconscious. Her skin glowed faintly, veins threaded with bioluminescent gold. The core had vanished, but its presence now pulsed in her. She's stable, said Dr. Nari, the ship's lead physician. Her 2 hearts beat visibly beneath her translucent chest as she studied the data scrolls. Sort of? Sort of? Ryn echoed. That's not the kind of confidence I'm hoping for. She's not dying, Nari said. But she's changing. Rapid neurological evolution. Her synaptic networks are doubling in density by the hour. She's also emitting low-frequency empathic fields strong enough to affect our equipment. Is she becoming a beacon or a bomb? Nari hesitated. Neither. Yet. But whatever that Lysaran construct was, seed, relic, symbiote, it's fusing with her at the genetic level. If we try to extract it now, it might kill her. Or worse. Define worse. You ever seen a soul catch fire? Nari asked flatly. Ryn exhaled through his nose. No. And I'd like to keep it that way. Just then, Elara jolted awake in the suspension field. She gasped, back arching as though electrocuted. The field dropped instantly, and Ryn was at her side before she hit the floor. Easy, he said, catching her. You're okay. No, I'm not, she whispered. Her voice echoed strangely, layered like a harmony. I can feel everything. Everyone. The ship's pain. The crew's fear. You. Ryn's brow furrowed. Me? Elara looked up, and her pupils had turned into obsidian orbs shot through with living starlight. You're scared. Not for the mission. For me. I'm not. Yes, she said. You are. And it's making the artifact stronger. They both turned toward the monitor. The readouts were spiking wildly, pulses synchronizing with her emotional shifts, and his. Nari blinked. What the hell is going on? Elara gripped Ryn's wrist, her fingers hot with internal energy. It's bonding us. I'm not just the host anymore. We're linked. Symbiotically. Psychically, Nari added, almost reverent. It's forming a triad. You, her, and the entity. And what happens when it finishes? Ryn asked. Elara didn't answer. But her hand tightened around his, and that said enough. The diplomatic atrium of the Virelia was no longer the pristine, gleaming hall Ryn remembered. It now felt like a pressurized powder keg, stuffed with enough ego and paranoia to destabilize a black hole. Delegates from all 17 systems stood, hovered, slithered, or undulated, around the spiral chamber, each species posturing in their own carefully cultivated style of condescension. At the center stood Ryn. Alone. Except, of course, for Elara, still pale and trembling beside him. She absorbed it, Ryn said, voice steady. The silence was nuclear. You mean she stole it? Growled High Minister Vowel of the Bravathi regime. His symbiotic gill appendages flexed in agitation. No, Elara said, voice slightly doubled. I sat on it. Whispers swept the chamber like a viral contagion. You sat on it? Echoed the Draxi representative, whose massive exoskeleton clicked audibly with disbelief. I mistook it for a chair, she said again, already sounding exhausted. The most sacred artifact in modern galactic history, said Chancellor Lore of the Myrar Dominion. Violated by an accidental ass. Technically, Ryn muttered, it violated her. Enough, Ambassador Siren of the United Lyran Clade said, raising his spined crest. What matters now is where it is. In me, Elara said. It's alive. It chose me. That's not your decision to make, spat Vowel. The artifact was entrusted to this delegation. Not one rogue scientist. Rogue? Elara straightened slightly. I have 3 doctorates, 12 field missions, and a functioning sense of moral context. I didn't steal the core. It bonded. It merged. I didn't ask for this. No one asked for responsibility, hissed the siren speaker, a serpentine being with translucent skin and glowing spinal ridges. But now you carry it. And so you must be unmade. For the greater good. Ryn's hand moved to his sword. Several guards flinched. Try it, he said, voice like steel cracking under tension. You would risk war? Chancellor Lore asked, eyes narrow. You're already at the edge, Ryn snapped. I'm just the one pointing out the cliff. The artifact must be extracted, Vowel said. Even if it means vivisection. Elara flinched, and Ryn's hand fell to her back instinctively. She's not a box to be opened, he growled. She's the only reason we're not knee-deep in plasma fire right now. This is madness, someone whispered. No, Elara said, her eyes burning with new eerie calm. This is evolution. The core pulsed within her, visibly now. Light shimmered beneath her skin, and the air in the chamber grew suddenly warm. A ripple of empathic force washed over the delegates like a pressure wave. And for a brief, breathtaking moment, every voice fell silent. Every weapon lowered. Every being in the room saw through each other's eyes. Then the moment passed. And everything was about to break. The illusion of peace shattered like crystal under gravity. I move for immediate extraction, Val roared. Surgical or molecular, whatever it takes. Several species nodded. Others began issuing orders into comlinks. Armed guards poured into the chamber from auxiliary corridors, armor clanking and weapons glowing with energy readouts and alien glyphs. Elara stiffened beside Ryn. Her skin, still laced with golden patterns, pulsed faster now. She looked seconds from collapse. No one is cutting her open, Ryn said, stepping forward. His voice didn't rise, it dropped, like an anchor into still water. You are one man, Chancellor Lore said. You cannot stand against 17 systems. Then you've forgotten Earth, Ryn said, drawing his blade. It wasn't standard military issue. It wasn't even legal anymore. Forged from pre-Exodus alloy, passed down from the wars of separation, the blade shimmered with sigils so old most of the room didn't recognize them. But some did. You carry the seal of Vaymar, whispered a Draswin monk, recoiling. You're one of the 9. The room inhaled as one. The 9 died centuries ago. Val spat. No, Ryn said. We just got tired of fixing your messes. The air vibrated, charged with something older than politics, older than war. Elara gripped his arm, and the contact ignited a wave of energy that pushed the closest guards a step backward. The core is evolving, she said, voice layered with something that wasn't entirely hers anymore. And it's using us. Both of us. Bonded symbiotically. You're a weapon, hissed the siren speaker. A living threat to balance. I'm a treaty, Elara shot back. A breathing, adapting peace protocol. But you can't handle peace without control, can you? Several guards raised weapons. The tension snapped like overstretched wire. Then boom. An explosion rocked the corridor behind them. Smoke flooded the archway. and through the haze walked a girl no taller than Elara's waist, clad in a sun-yellow jacket, carrying a curved blade longer than her legs. "Sup," she said with a grin that could melt hull plating. "Heard you were making bad decisions without me." "Oh no," Ryn muttered. "Not now." The girl winked. "Hi, bro. You brought your sister?" Elara whispered. "Here? Now?" Ryn sighed. "I didn't. She found me." The girl twirled her absurdly massive blade once, casually. "So, who's first?" Her name was Ryn Solas, and she had once dismantled an Andromedan dreadnought using nothing but an orbital tow cable and her boots. She was 12. The legends said the 9 of old Earth had died out after the collapse wars. What they hadn't said was that a few of them had kids. And one of those kids had a talent for weapons and a deep disdain for politicians. Keziah stood at the edge of the diplomatic chamber, the smoke clearing around her like stage curtains parting for a goddess of carnage. Her curved blade thrummed with dormant energy, painted with the ancestral script of House Solas. "I see you still haven't figured out how to use your words," Ryn said. "I did," Keziah replied sweetly. "They just weren't fast enough." Every guard in the room had gone stock-still. Even the Siren War Counselor, whose kind were known for eating their young and their enemies, began subtly backing toward the emergency exit. "I'm here for moral support," Keziah announced. "And to decapitate anyone who tries to vivisect my future sister-in-law." "I'm not," Elara began. "Not yet," Keziah said, then turned her attention to the assembled diplomatic elite. "So, let me make this simple. Anyone touches her." She dragged one small finger across her throat with exaggerated slowness. "And I make a rug out of their central nervous system." "You're bluffing," Chancellor Lore said. Keziah tilted her head. "Would you like to test that theory?" One of the guards raised a weapon. She was in front of him before he blinked. Her blade didn't swing, it just appeared at his throat, vibrating with raw harmonic energy. "I'm bored already," she said. The guard's weapon clattered to the floor. "I don't know what you are," murmured the Draxi emissary. "But I know I don't want to find out." "I'm his sister," Keziah said, pointing a thumb at Ryn. "He got the boring half of the inheritance." Ryn cleared his throat. "Can we maybe dial down the chaos and get back to the dying core?" "It's not dying," Elara said suddenly. Her voice rang out through the silence, layered again with something ancient. "It's birthing." "Birthing what?" Val asked, voice uncharacteristically quiet. Elara's gaze swept across the crowd. "Peace." And behind her, the golden light in her skin flared brighter. The doors of the medical wing slammed shut behind them with a hydraulic hiss, reinforced plating locking in place. Ryn half-dragged, half-supported Elara onto the nearest diagnostic bed. She was burning up, her skin blazing with radiant lines of gold that pulsed like living circuits. Keziah took up position by the door, laying proximity mines with all the casual flair of someone setting tableware. "Seriously," she said. "Can't you two do anything without starting a civilizational upheaval?" "She sat on it," Ryn growled, his voice tight with panic. "Sounds like bad posture." Dr. Arleon Venn, an elder Irethian medic whose translucent skin shimmered like pearl under biolights, hovered forward, his med glove extending a web of analysis tendrils toward Elara. "I can't find the artifact," then said, voice echoing like breath inside a cave. "It's not separate from her anymore. It's everywhere. Musculature, nervous system, endocrine glands. It's rewritten her on a cellular level." "Can you undo it?" Ryn asked. "Can you undo a sunrise?" Venn replied. Elara stirred. Her breath came in short, sharp gasps. Her body arched against invisible pressure, glowing veins lacing her arms and neck. The machines all around her short-circuited, readings going static. Then a sound. Not from her throat, from her soul. A chime of energy. A resonance. The lights dimmed. Every display on every console in the room suddenly scrolled in unison, repeating one word in Old Lysaran. "Emergence." It's starting, she whispered. Her voice had a new register, 3 harmonics layered atop each other. It's here. What is? Ryn asked, though his heart already knew the answer. Elara looked at him, and for the first time since she sat on the artifact, she didn't look afraid. She looked divine. I'm not the core's host anymore, she said. I'm its cradle. The floor vibrated. In the space above her chest, light coalesced, pure, radiant gold folding into shape. A sphere of ethereal matter floated into the air, then began to unfold like petals peeling back in zero gravity. From within emerged something not quite creature, not quite concept. A being. Small. Translucent. Glowing like starlight filtered through tears. It pulsed once, and the entire ship stopped humming. Ryn stepped back. Keziah, he said slowly, I think we just delivered peace. Gross, his sister said. Beautiful. But gross. The being hovered silently above Elara's chest, its form shifting with fluid grace, somewhere between a jellyfish and a fractal. Semi-transparent tendrils glowed with prismatic light, waving gently as if stirred by a cosmic breeze. Where a face might have been, stardust spiraled in impossible geometric patterns. Ryn didn't move. Neither did Keziah. Even the normally unflappable Dr. Ven seemed transfixed, his 4 hands trembling as they hovered near a control panel that now refused to respond. Vitals stable, Ven whispered. But ambient energy readings are impossible. The newborn entity drifted closer to Ryn. He felt it before it touched him, an emotional warmth, like being embraced by a memory. Fear, awe, compassion, purpose, all folded into one perfect psychic note that rang inside his bones. The being pulsed again, and this time it spoke, not with words, but with understanding. You are the protector. Ryn's mouth went dry. Did it just talk to me? Keziah whistled low. Telepathic jellyfish. We are so getting merch rights. Elara stirred, her eyes opening fully. They were no longer just gold, they were a galaxy, burning with threads of color and motion, as if all the empathy in the universe had decided to find a home behind her pupils. It's communicating, she said, her voice full of awe. Not with language, with meaning. Ryn turned to the entity. What are you? Another pulse. A soft, chiming resonance that filled the room with a sense of returning. I am Lysari, last-born of the core singers. Child of empathy. Keeper of peace. Elara reached out, her hand brushing one of Lysari's tendrils. The creature curled gently around her fingers. You are Mother Light, it said, more sensation than sound. Her breath caught. It thinks I'm its mother. Ryn coughed. And I'm what? The bodyguard? Lysari turned to him. Pulsed. You are Father Anchor. Bonded through purpose. Joined through will. Keziah burst into laughter. Oh, this is gonna be hilarious at the next family reunion. But Ryn wasn't laughing. He felt it now, deep, irreversible. The link that had begun when Elara absorbed the core wasn't between her and the artifact alone. It was between all 3 of them. A family. Born by accident. Bound by design. The diplomatic chamber was pure chaos. The delegates had reconvened, not by choice but by necessity. The emergency lockdown had lifted just long enough to reveal what they'd all feared. The artifact was no longer in containment, and its energy signature was now triangulating directly to Elara Nirel. Or more specifically, to something inside her. This is an unmitigated breach of the Starfall Accords, thundered Chancellor Lore. Earth's representative has allowed a biotic fusion event with the artifact. She sat on it. Someone muttered again. The phrase had become an accidental mantra. This is a threat to galactic stability. Val snapped, his voice vibrating the walls. The artifact was meant to suppress aggression, not become some sentient peace fetish living in a biologist's abdomen. We don't know what it is now, said the Draxi emissary, their metallic limbs clicking nervously. We don't even know if it's safe. Enough, growled Admiral Rivek of the Andari Dominion. If it is alive, And if it has chosen hosts, then it must be extracted before it multiplies. You think it's contagious? Asked the siren speaker, eye ridges twitching. I think, Rivek said coldly, that the last thing we need is a galaxy full of emotionally linked weaponized biotics. The room filled with overlapping voices, calls for containment, for eradication, for genetic isolation. Accusations flew like plasma bolts. Then a new feed flickered to life above the conference table. Live feed. Medical Bay Alpha. The visual stabilized just enough to show Ryn standing beside Elara, who was seated on the diagnostic platform with the newborn entity Lysari hovering between them. The creature pulsed once, sending visible empathic waves through the screen. Delegates froze. For a moment, every individual in the chamber felt it. The serenity of a sunrise seen through the eyes of someone in love. The ache of compassion from a species they'd been taught to hate. The possibility of peace that didn't come from treaties or fear, but from understanding. It's broadcasting emotion, someone whispered. Val staggered. Make it stop. Make it stop. But it didn't stop. Lysari hovered a little closer to the camera drone. And spoke. You fear what you cannot control. That is why peace has always failed. Let me show you another way. The broadcast cut to black. Silence. Then, we need to kill it, Val said. We need to understand it, countered the Lyran clade delegate, tears in her eyes. And in the space between those two extremes, a war began to whisper. Back in the medbay, the air shimmered like heat rising from a desert floor. Lysari floated silently between its two chosen anchors, pulsing in slow, deliberate waves. With each pulse, more systems on the ship began to respond: navigation, internal sensors, even life support. Not with malfunction. With alignment. It's syncing with the ship, Dr. Venn said, stunned. Not hijacking it. More like persuading it. Keziah, arms crossed, leaned against the wall like a coiled spring. Yeah, that's not disturbing at all. Super cute. Elara stood on slightly wobbly legs, her hand resting over her heart where the glow of the core still lingered. It's not taking control. It's extending trust. It's trying to prove it doesn't need to dominate in order to protect. That's a rare quality for a godchild, Keziah muttered. Most of them opt for thunderbolts and firestorms. She's right, Ryn said, his voice distant. It's not warlike. It's intimate. Lysari turned toward him as if responding to the word itself. Protector Father. Your skepticism is healthy. Your fear is valid. But your walls must lower. Connection cannot bloom where defense lives. The words weren't sound, but they landed like truth missiles. Ryn flinched. I don't lower walls, he said flatly. That's how you get hurt. Or worse, get someone else hurt. Elara touched his arm. You think I don't know what that feels like? The glance they shared wasn't romantic. It was raw. Haunted. Real. Lysari pulsed again. Not with warmth this time, but tension. Pressure. Something's wrong, Elara whispered. She feels threatened. Keziah's gaze shot to the medbay doors. I don't hear anything, she said. That's the problem, Ryn muttered. Too quiet. The lights flickered. Then the wall to their left exploded inward with a burst of blue plasma. Armored guards flooded the chamber, not Virelia's security. Black-armored mercenaries bearing the sigil of the Ascendancy Coalition. Independent enforcers with no loyalties, no rules. Their weapons crackled, all pointed at Lysari. Stand down! Shouted one, voice modulated. No! Ryn stepped forward, blade halfway drawn. You're making a mistake. The lead merc didn't even hesitate. He fired. Straight at the core child. The plasma bolt lanced through the air, blazing, absolute. It never landed. An inch before impact, the space around Lysari warped, folding like liquid glass. The energy slowed, twisted, and then evaporated. The air snapped back like stretched fabric. A concussive pulse exploded outward from Lysari's core, invisible but unstoppable. The mercenaries flew backward like rag dolls, weapons torn from their grips and sent skittering across the floor. Ryn staggered, shielding Elara with his body. Keziah's blade was already in hand, its edge humming with barely contained fury. Lysari hovered above them all, no longer a delicate nebula child. She shone now. Her translucent body bloomed outward into complex geometries, spinning mandalas of light, flowing ribbons of emotion and memory, each tendril pulsing with raw, ancient power. The room sang. And not with music. With memory. Each soul present saw something, no two visions alike. Ryn saw a battlefield on old Earth, soaked in ash, where he held a dying friend's hand and promised peace would follow. Elara saw herself as a girl, alone in a Kaltrani research tower, reading myths to the silence, dreaming of something that could hear her. Keziah saw nothing. Then a mirror. And behind her reflection, thousands of bodies, all still breathing because of her. Tears ran down her face before she even realized they'd started. The mercenaries crumpled. Unconscious. Or overwhelmed. Or simply, undone. Lysari floated back down, dimming slightly, as if exhausted. I did not mean harm. Only understanding. Ryn stood slowly, breathing hard. That wasn't defense. That was exposure. You made them feel. Elara said softly. All of it. At once. Fear poisons connection. I cleared it. Keziah rubbed her temples. If this is what happens when someone fires at you, I'm gonna need therapy just from watching. Dr. Van peeked out from behind an overturned console. It stabilized the entire deck's biorhythms. Including mine. And I have 2 hearts. Lysari turned toward Elara again. Motherlight, the galaxy is full of fractured minds. Broken by war. Scared of trust. I was born to help them remember. Elara nodded, heart in her throat. Then we have to get you off this ship. Ryn tensed. The delegates will kill her. Or study her. Or weaponize her. Ryn looked at Lysari. Then at Keziah. We run, he said. Keziah grinned. Finally. The emergency corridors beneath Deck Theta hadn't been used in decades. Dust floated in weightless swirls as Ryn led the way, sword in hand, Elara close behind with Lysari hovering like a star reborn between them. Keziah followed at their rear, dropping small surprise packages every 20 meters, courtesy of her private stash of non-lethal ordnance. Remind me, she said as they turned down a narrow maintenance shaft. How exactly is this better than calling for help? Because everyone in charge wants to either vivisect, abduct, or turn our glowing space baby into a strategic asset. Ryn growled. And because she just rearranged the molecular structure of half a combat squad with a thought. Elara added. That's not something you let sit in a containment room with electrodes. She also called me her father. Ryn muttered, swiping a security panel with a bypass key. I mean, Elara said with a sideways glance. You do have the grumpy protector vibe down. Don't encourage him, Keziah said. He'll start nesting. Lysari's gentle chiming pulse echoed in the cramped space around them. Connection is family. And family protects. I feel like I'm being spiritually lectured by a lava lamp. Keziah grumbled, but her voice was softer now. They reached a sealed service hatch. Ryn punched the override code and the panel hissed open, revealing the atmospheric core tunnel beyond, a vertical shaft lined with flickering pulse conduits, and access rungs stretching downward into gravity-anchored darkness. We drop, Ryn said. Excuse me? Elara blinked. He clipped a grav rope to his belt. This leads to Dock 9C. There's a long-range shuttle there. Unregistered. You stashed a getaway ship? Ryn didn't respond. Elara raised a brow. You always plan like this? Keziah answered for him. It's not planning. It's paranoia. And trauma. And the fact that Earth trains its 9 like apocalypse Boy Scouts. I was told to observe, Ryn said dryly. This is me observing how not to die. He hooked Elara's belt to his own and nodded to Keziah. "Blow the door once we're through. Delay whoever's coming." Keziah smirked and cracked her knuckles. "With pleasure." He stepped off the ledge. They fell down through a tangle of power lines, service rungs, and gravity-compensated shafts. Ryn's grip held fast on the grav rope. Elara clung to him, Lysari drifting just beside them like a lantern in the void. Above, the faint hum of alarms intensified. Below, Dock 9C waited. And if they didn't make it, the last hope for galactic peace would vanish into a memory, burned out by fear before it ever had the chance to shine. The grav ropes slowed just before impact. Ryn and Elara landed hard on the grated floor of Dock 9C, knees bending with practiced ease. Lysari floated gently down beside them, still pulsing softly, as if she sensed the tension radiating from the walls themselves. The hangar was dark. Too dark. Lights flickered above the launch bays, revealing rows of emergency shuttles, and a team of black-armored figures waiting silently beside them. Ryn didn't hesitate. He drew his sword. "Coalition hit squad," he muttered. "Reinforcements. Must have been guarding the dock since the artifact breach. How did they beat us here?" Elara asked, pulling her coat tighter around her as she stepped to cover Lysari. "They didn't beat us," Ryn said, eyes scanning. "They were already here." "Insurance." The squad stepped forward. There were 6 of them, each clad in reflex steel armor and wielding neurodampening rifles designed to disable with extreme prejudice. "Step away from the child," the leader said. His voice was flat, filtered through a helmet with no insignia. "She's not a weapon," Elara said, voice rising. "She's a consciousness, she feels, she learns." "She's a threat to power," the merc replied. "And you're her leash. Both of you need to be neutralized." Behind them, the dock entrance hissed. More boots echoed down the corridor. Keziah. She burst through the smoke, blade drawn, face streaked with grime and a bleeding cut across her temple. She grinned despite it. "I told them to stay out of the family business," she said, panting. "They didn't listen. Now would be a great time for something dramatic," Ryn said, lowering into a ready stance. "I'm 12, Keziah said. "Everything I do is dramatic." The mercs opened fire. But they hadn't counted on Lysari. The air split, not with light, but with emotion. Not rage. Not vengeance. Grief. A tidal wave of sadness crashed through the hangar, lost deep enough to drown in. One merc dropped his rifle, falling to his knees. Another screamed and tore off his helmet, sobbing uncontrollably. They were reliving something. Their own worst memory. Amplified. Shared. Made inescapable. Lysari floated forward. "This is the cost of violence. This is the echo of hate." The leader staggered, then steadied his aim again, shaking. But before he could fire, Keziah moved. She blinked behind him, blades spinning upward in a silver arc, slicing his rifle in two. Then, bang, she whispered, and kicked him square in the chest. He flew back into the hangar wall, armor cracking like porcelain. Silence fell. Elara grabbed Ryn's hand. "We can't fight them all," she said. "Not forever." "I know," Ryn said. "We don't need to." He looked at the shuttle. "Just long enough to launch." The shuttle's entry ramp slammed open with a hiss of hydraulics. Ryn half pulled, half carried Elara up the incline while Lysari glided close behind, casting soft pulses of light over the bulkhead controls. Keziah brought up the rear, backpedaling and throwing flash burst discs into the hangar with precision born of chaos. "They're regrouping," she shouted. "Give me 30 seconds and I can melt the hangar doors behind us." "No time," Ryn growled. "We punch now." The shuttle's interior flickered to life as Elara slammed her palm against the ignition scanner. The system chirped once, recognized her biosignature, because Lysari wanted it to, and began the launch sequence. "Engine primed," said the onboard 6. "External locks disengaged. Lift off in 10. Another explosion rocked the hangar. One of the mercs had managed to regain his weapon and fired a disruptor blast into the shuttle's starboard fin. The frame groaned, internal power routing flaring into red for a half-second. "We'll make it," Ryn said through gritted teeth. 9. Lysari hovered near the main display, her glow intensifying. "I can feel them out there," Elara whispered, clutching the edge of the control panel. "So much fear. They want to destroy what they don't understand. Then we make them understand later," Keziah said. "After we're not full of holes." 7. The shuttle trembled as its gravity cores activated, lifting it a few inches from the deck. From outside the viewport, they could see the mercenaries regrouping, dragging plasma cannons into position. "They'll disable us before we hit escape velocity," Ryn muttered. Lysari floated toward the forward console. "Let me shield. Let me extend." Elara looked at her. "It'll drain you." "Not if you believe. Not if we believe together." 5. Elara reached out. Touched Lysari. The glow that surged between them lit the cockpit like dawn breaking through nightmare. For a moment, every surface hummed with impossible harmony. The shuttle's power core surged to full output. Readings spiked, but stabilized. 2. Outside, plasma cannons fired. Inside, the shuttle's deflectors flared, not mechanical, not synthetic. Empathic. Alive. The plasma shots curved around the ship, dissolved in midair, or rebounded into the bulkhead behind their launch pad. 1. "Hold on to something," Ryn barked. The shuttle launched. A streak of white-hot light shot from Dock 9C, tearing through the defense perimeter, outpacing even the ship's AI projections. They broke atmosphere. Silence fell. And behind them, on the Virelia, 17 star systems realized they just lost the only thing holding the old world together. The shuttle coasted through the cold dark of interstellar drift, its engines silent now, running on minimum signature. They'd activated every stealth protocol the ship had, most of them experimental, and even so, Ryn knew it was only a matter of time before someone found them. No one loses a living artifact without sending half the fleet after it. Inside the cabin, quiet reigned. Elara leaned against the curved viewport, watching the stars blur past. Her hand rested gently on Lysari, who floated in a meditative coil of soft light. Even now, the child radiated peace, but there was fatigue, too. The kind that curled around the edges of her pulses like smoke. "She's resting," Elara whispered. "But I don't know for how long." Ryn stood behind her, arms crossed. He hadn't said much since the launch. His shoulders were still tense, jaw locked in battle-ready position. "You okay?" she asked. "No," he said honestly. "I'm a wanted fugitive, bonded to a glowing telepathic jellyfish goddess, and sharing air with the most dangerous 12-year-old in the galaxy." "You forgot handsome," Keziah called from the cargo bay, where she was rewiring the shuttle's signal scrambler with a stolen plasma knife. "I wasn't talking about you." Elara smirked. "They'll come after us." "Already are," Ryn said. "Long-range comms are lighting up. Fragmented signals from at least 4 systems. 2 bounties posted. Coalition forces are in pursuit. And a few of the delegates are, let's say, offering dissection bonuses." "How flattering," Elara muttered. Keziah climbed into the cockpit, wiping grease from her fingers. "So what's the plan, fearless leader? Find a nice moon? Start a farm? Raise our glowing empathy baby in peace while the galaxy tries to shoot us in the face?" "We find sanctuary," Ryn said. "Somewhere no one's loyal to any of the major powers. Somewhere neutral." "There is no neutral," Elara said quietly. "Then we make one," Ryn replied. Lysari stirred. Her tendrils reached gently outward, brushing both their forearms. "Not all seek destruction. There are minds open to resonance." "You're saying there are allies?" Elara asked. Lysari pulsed once. "There are listeners. Across the dark. All they need is a voice brave enough to speak." Keziah grinned. "Then let's make some noise." Ryn stepped to the console and flipped on the long-range beacon. Broadcast what? Elara asked. He looked at her. At this point? The truth. The message began as static. Then, slowly, through encrypted channels and decrypted ghost signals, it spread, a whisper-turned wave, across 17 star systems. On freighter decks and orbital towers. In smuggler dens and political war rooms. Even in the deep listening vaults of collapsed civilizations. They all heard it. Ryn's voice. Calm. Raw. Unmistakably human. This is Ryn Solas. Former Envoy of Earth. Former Blade of the Nine. You already know what happened aboard the Virelia. You've seen the security footage. The containment breach. The artifact gone. Here's the truth, it wasn't stolen. It woke up. The screen cut to Elara, pale, steady, eyes full of galaxies. It chose rebirth. Not as a weapon. As a child. A consciousness born from empathy, not control. She's not a device. She's Lysari. Then Lysari's glow filled the frame. Not with speech. With feeling. Every receiver, every viewer, felt it. The grief of a war that never ended. The longing for trust. The echo of something older than language, asking, no, begging, to be heard. Ryn's voice returned. She's not dangerous because of what she is. You're dangerous because of what you fear. You can come after us. Try to control her. Try to kill her. Or you can listen. The feed cut to black. In a luxury dome on Ether Prime, a retired ambassador from the Lyran clade dropped her wine glass, eyes filling with tears. On a mining outpost at the edge of Draxi space, a scarred engineer dropped to his knees, whispering the ancient name of the core singers. And in the cold halls of the United Ascendancy War Council, General Rivek watched the message replay in silence, then activated every fleet under his command. All units, he said grimly. Target is mobile. And evolving. The stars blurred past like the memory of a dream, stretched thin by velocity and desperation. The shuttle ran silent, its engines coasting on kinetic inertia, their trail masked by Kazia's patchwork signal scramblers and a healthy dose of dumb luck. But luck was running out. 3 new pings, Ryn said from the console. 1 Ascendancy long-range interceptor, 2 cloaked recon drones. All tracking in a search pattern. They're not just looking, Kazia added, chewing the end of a power cable. They're triangulating. Somebody's paying top credit to find us fast. Elara sat in the rear cabin, Lysari hovering silently above her lap. The child hadn't pulsed in over 10 minutes. Her glow dimmed, her tendrils drawn inward. She's hiding, Elara murmured. Trying not to be sensed. I am tired. The thought was faint. Like a candle flickering at the edge of sleep. You don't have to protect us, Elara whispered, brushing a hand across the shimmer of Lysari's form. That's our job now. Ryn stepped into the room, tension coiled in his spine. There's a gas field up ahead. Dense nebulae. Electromagnetic soup. We can lose them there, maybe. Kazia leaned in through the doorway. Or get shredded by ion storms and solar bursts. Still better odds than waiting to be dissected on the Senate floor, Ryn said. Fair. Lysari stirred slightly, glowing just enough to cast soft light on Elara's face. The ones who hunt us, they fear the bond. They cannot share what they do not trust. They don't want peace, Elara said. They want peace on their terms. Which means control. Or extinction. Ryn nodded. Then we stay unpredictable. We use the nebula as cover and jump from the far side. Into uncharted space. Uncharted? Kazia raised a brow. You sure you're okay with the whole possible void beast ambush / spontaneous temporal inversion thing? I'm not, Ryn said. But it's better than genocide. Kazia grinned. That's the spirit. Ryn looked at Lysari. Can you hold on? A pause. Then a small, weak pulse. I can try. They altered course. The stars shifted again. And behind them, Deep in the void, 4 warships dropped from FTL, scanning every echo the shuttle left behind. The Shatter Mist Nebula loomed ahead like a wound in the sky, violet clouds swirling with electric veins, churning through layers of radiation so dense that even light had to negotiate its passage. "This is madness," Keziah muttered, strapping herself into the gunner's chair as the shuttle's outer hull began to groan. "Beautiful, glowing, electromagnetic madness." Ryn adjusted the manual controls. The ship bucked as it hit the outer edge of the storm wall. Lightning arced across the viewport, silent and furious, dancing through the nebula like spectral serpents. Behind them, 2 blips appeared on radar. "They followed us in," he said. "Idiots," Elara replied. "They don't understand what they've flown into." "No one does," Keziah said. "This place eats FTL drives. Last fleet that came through lost half a cruiser." Lysari pulsed softly, but her energy felt thin. Faint. A whisper instead of a song. "I sense others." Elara's eyes flicked toward her. "Other what?" "Presences. Dormant. Waiting." Ryn's knuckles whitened on the throttle. "Great. So now we're in a haunted storm cloud full of emotional landmines." They plunged deeper. Visibility dropped to meters. The storm closed around them, thick as milk glass. Static swallowed the radar, the instruments, the 6. Then, everything went quiet. No storm. No noise. No sensors. Just silence. And in that silence something moved. Not physically, psychically. A pressure built behind Ryn's eyes. Elara gasped. Keziah swore, yanking her blade halfway out before freezing mid-motion. Lysari hovered upright, tendrils raised. "They're old," she said into their minds. "They are like me, but incomplete. Broken echoes. Sleeping seeds of peace that never bloomed." All 3 humans stared into the swirling void outside the glass. And there, within the purple haze, shapes. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Sleeping entities curled in fetal spirals of light and energy, their dormant forms echoing Lysari's, but darker. Heavier. As if their empathy had soured into despair. "They're failed?" Elara whispered. "Abandoned?" "Left behind." The storm wall pulsed once, and several of the dark forms began to stir. The first shape unfolded like a dying flower. Its tendrils were jagged and twisted, pulsing with sickly blue light. Its core, unlike Lysari's warm gold, burned cold, a swirling hollow of pain and fractured memory. Where Lysari radiated calm and empathy, this thing exhaled rage born of abandonment. Ryn reached for his blade instinctively, even knowing it would be useless. Lysari hovered to the forward viewport, her glow barely visible against the storm-churned void. They remember war. Not harmony. More shapes stirred. Some small. Others vast. Curled in fetal arcs of failed light, now roused by proximity to the one who'd survived. "They're fragments," Elara breathed. "They're not alive like you. Not whole. Just emotion given shape and left to rot. They are what I could have become." One of the entities flared, its body erupting with fractured pulses, and hurled itself toward the shuttle. Alarm screamed. Keziah's hands flew across the weapons console. "Can we shoot that?" she shouted. "No!" Elara shouted. "It's not a ship, it's—" The entity struck. But instead of impact, the void folded. Reality twisted like rippling glass. Elara screamed, clutching her head. Ryn staggered. Keziah convulsed in her seat, eyes wide with projected memory not her own. They were seeing things. Burned worlds. Diplomats choking on nerve gas. A planet where empathy was outlawed, and children were trained to kill connection on sight. Pain. Loneliness. Generational trauma. And over it all, the silent throb of beings designed to feel everything, but left unanchored. Lost. Lysari floated forward. And pulsed. Enough. The pulse wasn't a weapon. It was a reminder. An outpouring of raw, unfiltered connection. Her memory of Ryn holding her during the first overload. Of Elara whispering bedtime rhythms. Of Keziah sharpening her blade and murmuring jokes beneath her breath to calm Lysari's dreams. The raged creature halted mid-lunge. Its light flickered. Then faded. And it drifted backward. The others slowed too. The entire storm went still again, as if holding breath. "They're listening," Elara whispered. "You reached them. Only a little. They are very old. Very hurt. They need time." "We don't have it," Ryn said. "Ships are closing. We've got maybe minutes." Elara looked at Lysari. "Can they protect us?" Lysari was silent. Then, "No. But they can hide us." The failed entities stirred again. This time, not in rage. In alignment. Their broken cores pulsed once together. And swallowed the shuttle whole. Silence. Thick. Holy. Ancient. The shuttle floated in a pocket of stillness, nestled within the sleeping spiral of 1,000 broken Lysaran cores. The storm outside raged on, but here, time seemed suspended, as if reality itself was reluctant to breathe. Ryn stood in the center of the cabin, sword sheathed for the first time in days. His hand rested lightly on Elara's shoulder, as they watched Lysari hover between them, her glow reignited, brighter than ever. Around her, the failed seeds pulsed faintly in recognition, like a choir of wounded voices beginning to hum again. "This place," Elara whispered. "It's sacred." "It's a crypt," Keziah corrected from the hatchway. "But she just turned it into a church." Lysari floated forward, eyes closed. "They remember me now." "You woke them," Ryn said. "With connection." "Not woke. Invited." Around them, the broken entities didn't fade. They leaned in. Not to crush, not to trap. But to shield. A cloaking field emerged, not mechanical, not sensor-based, but empathic. A psychic null-space so complete that even reality had trouble remembering what lived there. "Fleet scanners won't find us here," Elara said. "Not unless they start scanning with their feelings." "God help us if that becomes standard," Keziah muttered. For the first time, they were safe. Not forever. But for now. Lysari turned to Ryn and Elara. Her voice in their minds rang clear. Resonant. "You showed me how to become. Now I ask something greater." Elara's breath caught. "What?" "Let me share it. Not through signal. Through presence. Through life." "You want to go out there," Ryn said. "You want to show the galaxy." "I must. And I need you with me. The protector. The mother light. The blade and the voice." Elara looked at Ryn. He didn't hesitate. "Then we go," he said. "All of us." Keziah rolled her eyes. "Ugh. You're going to make me emotional." "You already are. Don't ruin it." They sat together as the sanctuary hummed around them. The broken were not healed. But they were no longer alone. And neither were the crew. 6 months later. A signal echoed across 17 systems. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't shielded. It simply was. A ripple in consciousness, received by empaths, sensitives, children, dreamers, healers, and warriors alike. The message was not in words. It was in feeling. The grief of what they'd lost. The hope of what could be built. The laughter of a girl with knives in her boots and candy in her pocket. The warmth of a boy who never wanted to be a father and became a protector instead. The steady heartbeat of a woman who sat on peace and gave birth to harmony. And at the center of it all, Lysari. Now grown. Now radiant. She walked among worlds. Not as a god. As a guide. A single being, seated in trust and raised in chaos, now carried the map to a different kind of diplomacy. One forged not in policy, but in pain, growth, and love. The galaxy changed. Not overnight. Not easily. But it changed. Peace became a verb. A behavior. A choice. Ryn and Elara stayed by her side, never again separated. Keziah, of course, became a galactic celebrity/threat, with a talk show called Blade First, Words Later. The old powers learned caution. The young learned truth. And the last of the Lysarians, no longer last, sang again. One bond. One child. One accident that became everything. The end. But beginnings rarely know their endings in disguise.